It genuinely is a real honor to be nominated. This is a wonderful organization. I've got to know Ramin only recently, but obviously being an LA attorney, I'm surrounded by Iranian, Persian attorneys every day. Yes, yes, come on. Not normally quite as many as this, but often pretty close numbers. It is really an honor to be nominated, and obviously it's a double honor to actually be awarded, so thank you so much. As you may be able to detect, certainly some of those who are a little more attuned, and any of you who are from England, I myself am an immigrant. I, however, had the luxury of just fleeing, frankly, kind of crappy weather and warm beer, and came here to the land of fire, as it is right now. I am, thankfully, one of the much more fortunate immigrants. As you heard just a moment ago, our clients are among the least fortunate immigrants. They are fleeing a terrifying situation for them that they, frankly, there's no need that anyone should ever live a life like that. Our clients are, Christians, Mandeans, Jewish people who on a daily basis face persecution that stops them from, frankly, it stops even their kids from going to school sometimes. Even when their kids do go to school, they're not only mocked by other kids, because all kids will mock other kids, they're mocked by their teachers who kick them out of school and say, you can't be here because your religion doesn't align with our religion. And that's wrong. America was founded on the idea of religious freedom, and that is an idea that has been adopted all across the world because, frankly, it's the right thing to do. The Lautenberg Amendment was enacted in the greatest spirit of religious freedom. It was designed to ensure that people who were fleeing religious persecution had a place to go. It was America reaching out across the world saying, if you guys are in trouble, if there's some problem that you guys are having because you can't practice your religion freely, come to us, we'll look after you, we'll make sure that you have a place to go. In my view, and frankly, I think in the view of, hopefully, everyone in this room and a lot of people across the country, the denial of our clients is a betrayal of that idea. Not just of the Lautenberg Amendment, but a betrayal of the entire formulating idea of this country that religious freedom is something that should be admired, respected, and protected. Some of the denials that we've received recently, the re-denials after we went through the first round, say that our clients shouldn't be allowed in because they present a national security risk. Now, call me crazy, and the government frequently does, but there is no way that a mother who has young children and an infirm father can possibly present any national security risk. It just can't be. And frankly, anyone who thinks they do has a level of paranoia that, in my view, disqualifies them from being entitled to make the decision in the first place. Our clients were the first ones to receive mass denials under this program. We have been fighting as hard as we can since March, and we will continue to fight as hard as we can. I would love to be able to stand here today and promise every single one of you, and frankly, I'd love to be able to call up all of our clients and say, we got you, we're going to win. But I can't do that. I can't make that promise because the government and the law means it's a risk, it's a problem, it's a challenge for us. But what I can promise, from one immigrant to all of you guys, and to a bunch of wannabe immigrants out in Austria, is that Latham and IRAP are going to throw as many punches as we can at the government. We're going to fight as hard as we can. We're going to fight as long as we can. And we're going to fight until we've done absolutely every single thing that we can to make sure that all of our clients have the justice that they deserve and that they have the opportunity to come here to America and get on with their lives and be a part of this wonderful, vibrant community. Now it's a team. I'm the Latham part of the team, and I'm going to hand over to Kate to do the IRAP part of the speech. So thank you.
Thank you, everyone. I'm honored to accept this award on behalf of the International Refugee Assistance Project. As Ali mentioned, we won an order that required the government to rescind the mass denials and reconsider our clients' applications in July. But despite this legal victory, many of our clients continue to languish in Vienna, stranded from family in the United States, fearful of deportation to Iran, and uncertain about the future. And since this time last year, only 15 Iranian refugees have been admitted to the United States total. These are unprecedented times, and the undeniable weight of hate and intolerance make even our biggest wins in the courtroom bittersweet. What continues to inspire me is the strength of families fighting for each other. I see it when it comes to families who sponsor their relatives in Iran to come to the United States in the hopes that they can lead a fulfilling life here together. I see it when our refugee clients who have spent years abroad waiting for decisions in their cases and living through the denials are sustained by the family bonds with relatives that they're making this journey with and with their relatives who they're waiting to be reunited with in the United States. And I see it in my own family when my grandmother tells me how she fled persecution in Poland and found refuge with her few surviving relatives in the United States. As attorneys, we're bolstered by the support of this family of advocates and community members here tonight who have encouraged our efforts in this litigation. And we are especially heartened by your drive to ensure that refugees are still welcomed into the broader, at times dysfunctional, American family. My hope is that through this work, we are able to honor the fierce love and grit that drives refugee families to survive and thrive together. Thank you again for all of your support.
You got to take Hala wherever you go. I mean, she's... Hala, thank you so very much for your friendship, for your advocacy, for your passion, for your honesty, and I think for your transparency in wanting to bridge the divide always. That's one thing I've learned from Hala Hijazi, that there is nothing that we cannot find agreement on, regardless of how far apart we think we are. And sometimes when it's painful because things that have happened to you or your community, you have to find the sweet spot, because if you don't, the pain will overcome you. And I say to Hala, do not stop. We need more Americans like Hala Hijazi in this great country. So thank you so much for what you do. To Babaka, I want to just say to you, thank you for making the outreach, the overture to come and have an opportunity to meet so many great people and to be part of this event this evening. I hope that you enjoy your conference, and I hope you will continue to invite me. To all of you who are part of the Iranian American Bar Association, from wherever you've come, please know that you are welcome in California. Not only are you welcome in California, but you're expected to fight here in California with us, because California has decided to do things a little bit differently. We are a great part of this country, and we are proud to be a part of this country, but we are not backsliding, and California will not go backwards. We intend to move forward, and we hope you are here. You will enjoy some sun, some sand, and so a little bit of work, but you will leave believing that you are part Californian when you go back to your states, wherever you're from, and recognize that we have work to do, because what we are accomplishing in California is something that communities throughout this country have to see as well. So, Babak, to you and to the leadership of the Iranian American Bar Association, I say thank you for inviting me to come this evening to be with you. I actually feel like I'm at home. I had one of the first things someone said to me is, "Oh, you look more Iranian than most of the Iranians who are in this room." And then I looked at my watch and to see what time it was. And you start things late, just the way my community starts things really late. And unfortunately, because I have to head back to the airport, I suspect I'm going to miss a pretty good meal. And next time we'll do it at my house, and you'll have a pretty good meal because we do some pretty good cooking on the Mexican side of the ledger as well. But I will simply say to you that this is the face of America. Look at yourselves. This is America. And in some parts of America, they're not yet willing to accept it. But this is America. And I guarantee you, the stories that each and every one of you could tell are more American than the stories that so many Americans today think make them American. I don't know about you, but there was a time when my parents could walk into restaurants because of the signs that said no dogs or Mexicans allowed. But never once did I hear my parents utter a negative thing about this country because they knew what they had. They knew where they had come, and they understood what it was going to mean for their kids. And so they persevered. They knew if they just worked hard, there would be opportunity, if not for them, for their children. How many of us are not the children of parents like that? How many of us aren't the first to come to this country and believe in that? How many of us have seen success that we probably would have never have had a chance to see in our home country? And so, in so many ways, I feel like I'm among family. I really do, because I know you better than you think. And I believe that what you bring to this country is so American. And I hope you don't change many of the customs that your parents or you brought with you. I hope you will continue to put together some of that cuisine that's so delicious. I hope you will continue to remember how to be multilingual. I hope you will remember to correct people when they try to pronounce your name. No, it's not Xavier, it's Javier. X like an H, Becerra. And yeah, I suspect pretty much half the room could stand up and say, yeah, I go through that every day myself. We are a family, whether we knew it or not. In so many ways, we are a family. And regardless of what our politics are, regardless of geographically where we have resided and grown up, there's something that we bring with us. It's that heritage that you can't leave it. You may adapt in this country, but you don't leave what was your forefathers and foremothers. It's part of you. And I think California, we've said, we want that to thrive. We want to be inclusive, because in LA, you can go to a whole bunch of great restaurants and you don't have to eat the same kind of food once in a week, and you will feel like you've had a feast every time. And that's because we encourage people to do everything that their parents before them did. And so I simply think it's important for us to remember, this is the face of America. Now, how many of you are multilingual? I applaud you. How many of you have children who continue to be multilingual? I'm sort of there like this, right? Yes, I know. See, you're where I am. Yes, they sort of try, but it's a little embarrassing every once in a while, right? Yeah. Keep at it. Keep at it. There's probably a word in Farsi or whatever other language you might know that there's just no good translation in English. That you wish you could, when you're saying something, you say, oh, it's like, and you say it in that language, and you try to explain to people, well, this is, you can't depict what that word means. In Spanish, there's a word that I think I can't quite translate in English. But in many ways, it describes everything I just described about us being an American family. Ganas. Ganas, you can almost hear it in the way you say it. Ganas, in English, it can translate into desire, determination, will, guts, grit. It means you've got the fortitude, indomitable force to just do it. Él tiene ganas. Ella tiene ganas. He has this will. She has this inner desire. It's from the gut. There's no other way for me to describe it but to use all those different words. But in one word, if I say, man, that woman's got ganas, I'm paying about as high a compliment as I can. I will tell you this. I suspect there is someone in your family who you can say to them when you come home, Mom, or grandfather, or sister, I learned a word today, and it describes you to the T. You are the person in our family who had ganas. You're the one that made so much possible for the rest of us. I want to teach you that word because I hope you will teach me a word that you know as well. But ganas, when you give that compliment to someone, you are saying to them that they pioneered. They opened doors. They broke down barriers. That's what my parents did. They had ganas. A man with a 6th grade education, a woman who didn't come to this country until she was married at 18 to my father when she came from Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico. And somehow to be able to help, even though, as I said, they couldn't walk into restaurants, to help their 4 kids enter through the doors of college or to give service in the military. You've got to have ganas. I hope you have ganas. I know someone in your family had ganas because you're here. And so I hope you will praise them for being the person who had ganas. They deserve it. And I hope you will tell them. I also wanted you to know that I believe that there's something in this room that isn't in all rooms when Americans gather. And it is, I believe, something that we bring with us because I think it's in our DNA. If you're the child of immigrants or if you're an immigrant, you carry it. I don't know if you knew it, but you carry it. It's optimism. In some parts of our country, people believe America has seen its best days. That's why someone who has a slogan that says, "Make America Great Again," could get elected to be president. Because for some people, you know what? There's a sense that the best days have left. I used to work at the GM plant, and my dad worked there before me, and my son was going to have a good job there, but the GM plant left. I used to work in the steel mill, and my parents before me worked there, my uncles, but now my kids can't because the steel mill left. And so for many people, they feel like now it's been 2 or 3 generations, and they haven't seen the same opportunity. And it's tough. They think it left. And quite honestly, they would look at some of us in this room and say, they took it from us. On the other hand, my parents, who not only were in the same working class condition as many of those people, the difference was those folks could walk into the restaurant. My parents couldn't. They never thought that it was going to be worse for their kids. I don't know why, because my parents never had a chance to attend a college, but they didn't ever believe that there wouldn't be an opportunity that would be better for their kids. For them, the glass was always only half full. And you are here. I see that you are successful, and so that tells me that you have in your DNA that same optimism. Don't let that go. It shows. Your children will see it. And if your children see it, we are the products of our parents, then they will be optimists. And if they're optimists, they're going to spread that around. And we have to be the people that say, as tough as times were, you can't walk into a restaurant because of the signs. As tough as things are, because someone says your family member should not be allowed to come in simply because of where they're coming from, someone has to be optimistic. Someone has to have the ganas. Someone has to let people know it will not always be this way. And that's, I think, why you're gathering here today, is to talk about those things. And so that's a chore that we have, is to convey that they can bleed us, but what will come out is optimism. So they have to know that. It sometimes is difficult to believe that. But can I just remind you, this is 2018, not 1820, okay? We are having difficult times. A president who wants to ban people simply because of where they are coming from. No proof that they would be any type of hostile danger to this country, simply because of where they're coming from. Just like the sign that was outside that restaurant that knew my parents not a bit, but didn't want them to come in, simply because of where they were coming from, even though they were U.S. citizens, by the way. (2018). We today have to fight these travel bans. We have to fight to save the dreamers who had a program called DACA that allowed them to come out of the shadows, but a president who said, I want to get rid of that program. It should surprise no one that California stood up and decided to sue the President of the United States in court and won the injunction. Since when do you separate children from their parents? Intentionally. That's why California is in court to try to stop that as well. Since when do you tell people that they cannot apply for asylum or refugee status? In violation of our own laws. We got to stand up. This is California, and I hope you enjoy California, but please recognize that we do things a little bit differently. Even the Dreamers in California came up with a slogan when they were out there fighting for justice to get the DACA program and hopefully an immigration reform. They said, and this is their slogan, they said they are undocumented and unafraid. And they came out publicly and said, we are undocumented, but we are not afraid. And I will tell you that it takes a whole lot of courage to tell someone, you can take me into custody and begin removal proceedings against me by law, but I am unafraid, because I think once you hear my American story, you will recognize that I belong in this country. And if they can be undocumented and unafraid, as I think Hala tried to convey to so many of you, we must be unbowed and unafraid, because likely here in this room, there are very few of us who have any reason to be afraid that our government would have reason by law to take us. And so we have to be there to be the voice. We have to have that ganas. We have to show the optimism for those folks. And so I will close with one last comment and some words that are not mine, but they are words that I use because to me I find them inspiring. As I go through this process, and Hala was right, we have sued the federal government 44 times. Every single one of those suits was not to poke the eye of the occupant in the White House. It wasn't to resist, as people say sometimes. It wasn't to try to get reelected, which, by the way, I did, but it was because when Jerry Brown offered me this opportunity, I said to him, Governor, I've now been in public office for over 24 years. I know what I can and I cannot do. And I'm now probably in the latter part of my public life. And so I'm going to go swinging. And so long as you don't mind, then I will accept that position. And so what I have done, and I said this to the governor and I say this often, my job as the Attorney General is to protect 40 million Californians, our values, and our resources. That's why we are in court defending the Affordable Care Act in federal court for not just Californians, but for every single American of the 20 million who got their coverage for the first time through the Affordable Care Act for the 133 million Americans who have a pre-existing medical condition, who today are protected from an insurance company removing them from coverage because of they used to be able to discriminate, but now under the Affordable Care Act they cannot. We are in court defending that for every single American because Donald Trump and Jeff Sessions, when he was the Attorney General, decided to go AWOL on the defense of a federal statute, which is the obligation of the Attorney General of the United States of America. And we stepped in. And so California did it not solely for the 40 million Californians, we did it for everyone because it's important. The same reason we went in and sued on DACA. The same reason we went in and sued the EPA when it tried to say that it was okay to release methane gas, which is countless times more polluting than is carbon. The same reason we went and said that if Secretary Zinke in the Department of Interior tries to drill off the coast of California, we're going to sue them. The same reason we are suing right now Secretary Wilbur Ross and the Trump administration for trying to include a question about citizenship on the census questionnaire because they know it's going to drive down participation, mostly by immigrant families, in filling it out, which means California, which has more immigrant families than any other, would lose billions of dollars in taxpayer dollars that we send to the National Treasury, which would never come back, because by formulas that are driven by population, we would lose if there's an undercount. And we might even lose a congressional seat. So of course we're going to sue. Everything we do is to fight for the people, the values, and the resources of this state. And so when Dylan Thomas, a Welsh poet who actually died before he turned 40, wrote this poem, most people believe he wrote it for his father. He didn't even title it. His father was in his waning years of life. To me, it speaks more than just about one person. Dylan Thomas said, "Do not go quietly into that good night. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Do not go quietly into that good night. Stand up, have ganas, be optimistic, rage, rage against the dying of the light." My brothers and my sisters, this is America here. Some people may not recognize it. I think we do. And we know the glass is only half full. It is up to us to convince the rest of America that what we're doing is so American and it's going to be so good for them that we must rage, rage against those who would try to snuff out the light, for families that are waiting to be united, for people who are waiting to escape persecution, for children who believe it's time for them to come out of the shadows, for people who want to be able to take their daughter or son to the hospital and not worry about going bankrupt. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. That is your charge, because you know what? You're that new American that understands what it means to not have been able to do these things before. It is up to us to leave the light on so others can see what is before them. And when they see it, they will recognize that you were the one that gave them ganas to move forward. Thank you. Continue your success. I appreciate having me.
Thank you guys. I appreciate the recognition and the help. So it's already introduced. I'm obviously the IABA National President. I've had the honor of standing before crowds like this one for the last 4 years in this role. And as Ramin said, it will be the last time that I'll be giving these remarks. Pretty much right after one of the other things that IABA did, actually largely spearheaded by Paya, but we worked with Paya and we worked with Senators Paya and Parse and Senators Jeff Flake and Chris Van Hollen, and actually a few others. We worked with them to get the only publicly available statistics on the travel ban, and specifically the implementation of the waivers. I don't think you'd be surprised to hear what we found out, but it was dismal. In the first 3 months after the travel ban went into effect, after thousands upon thousands of applications, you know how many waivers were granted? 2. 2 out of dozens of thousands. Now, since then, they've really ramped up their game, so they're up to a whopping 2% out of 30, 40, 50,000 applications. That is why we have the lawsuit, to enforce our rights for waivers. We've met with various elected officials, including Leader Pelosi, on impacts of the travel ban and other issues affecting our community. We've presented various MCLE events so that attorneys can understand how to better represent their clients in this particular atmosphere. We've hosted events with IABA for attorneys, again, trying to fight the travel ban. The list kind of goes on and on. Now, a few people have sort of come to me over time and expressed whether or not IABA is becoming more quote-unquote political. You know, Iranians have this paranoia about being siyasi. But I want to express to you this is not an issue of politics. This is an issue of law. This is when our community is impacted, when there are issues that are dearly important to us, when the rights of the community are under attack, then if we as a national organization of attorneys do not step up to protect them, then nobody else should. We need to step into that divide because we are gifted with those bar cards that allow us to do it. Now, we have incredible coalition partners without which none of this would have been able to happen. Obviously, we've had incredible help from PAYA, PARS, NIAC, AILA, NILC, ALC, IRAP, and many others. And we obviously have to acknowledge our pro bono counsel, counsel like Latham, but we've been working with Arnold and Porter and Lane Powell and Marion Scallett. So the coalition is necessary, but it is also our duties to step into this divide. And by the way, just so you know, it's not all backward looking. We are in the process of trying to create an Iranian-American National Law Student Association. So there'll be another generation ready to take our place when we're done. We are talking for the first time about the creation of an LDF, a Legal Defense Fund, a group that can, a separate entity from all of us, that can engage in strategic impact litigation, in lobbying, in advocacy, whatever it takes to protect our rights. Every community in this country that has reached a certain growth has created an LDF fund. We are on the precipice of that growth now. But we can't do this work alone, right? And we need you to help us with the preparations for the storm. And there's a lot that you can do, okay? You've heard a lot of this. You can get involved. Right now, the boards of this entity, of this organization, are a place where too few people are carrying the burdens of the community. We need your help. You should get involved in the board. The LA chapter is accepting applications right now. Now is a good time. Now is really the only time to get involved. You can donate. You've heard about this already. We are a 100% volunteer organization. Everybody who's here is spending their time on their own, and 100% of what you donate goes back to the organization. Now, we are constantly constrained about what we can do for the community because of funding restraints. With your help, that can change. Really easily, you can just renew your membership. I would be willing to bet that if I went around the room and took a poll, we would have a fairly disturbing pattern of whose membership is or is not renewed. It's really easy. A lot of what we do comes through the membership dues, and you guys can probably get those renewed within 5 minutes online. And if money's not your thing, that's okay. Donate your time, volunteer to translate documents, to help with legal clinics, to offer us your specialty, be it in employment or immigration. Help the community members. Another thing you can do, we often send out emails asking for action items. We want you to either make a call or take a phone call or send an email. Take 10 minutes out of your day. Really, that's sometimes all it takes. Take 10 minutes to send that email, to make a phone call. For far too long, the establishment in this country has not heard from us as an organized community. That needs to change if we expect to be taken seriously. Finally, at a very bare minimum, just share the news on social media, right? Follow us on Facebook. When we get information, share it. It may seem trivial, but a lot of times that information is crucial to someone who needs the help. Whatever you do, oh, and by the way, this is not the only ways, right? There are other ways you can make your voices heard, even if it's not through this organization. We just had an election. For anyone who's having any doubts as to whether or not elections matter, I hope no matter which side of the aisle you're on, those doubts are now alleviated. Elections matter. We'll have another one in a couple of years. Get active, get involved, go vote. As Hala said, get engaged in civic engagement, on local boards, on local government. Talk to your representatives. And besides this organization, you can make your voices heard by getting actively involved with or donating to other organizations who do work you agree with. Many worthy ones are in this room right now. Whatever you do, do not sit on the sidelines, especially at a time like this. Now is the time to stand up and be counted. Now is the time to act. Let me leave you with the words of an American poet, Longfellow, who I've admired for quite some time. Not enjoyment and not sorrow is our destined end or way, but to act that each tomorrow find us farther than today. In the world's broad field of battle, in the bivouac of life, be not like dumb driven cattle. Be a hero in the strife. Lives of great men all remind us we can lead our lives sublime, and then departing, leave behind us footprints in the sands of time. Footprints that perhaps another, sailing over life's solemn main, a forlorn or shipwrecked brother, will see and take up heart again. Let us then be up and doing, with a heart for any fate, still achieving, still pursuing. Learn to labor and to wait. As you wake up tomorrow, repeat these words to yourself every day. In the face of the insanity of the storm, this is not normal. Like a mantra, over and over, as long as it takes. This is not normal. And then, as Longfellow urged, act for a heart for any fate. If we do that, I promise you, tomorrow will find us a little bit farther than today. Thank you for your time.